So, in my last video of today before I go to work, I want to discuss, well, there's an interesting picture here of Carey Price smashing his stick on a goalpost last night, but I've talked enough about that. Let's talk about Alex Ovechkin. Because last night, Alex Ovechkin scores his 20th regular season overtime goal as they beat the Red Wings, and moving past Jaromir Jagr of the Flames for the most in history. His 10th goal of the year, first player to reach double figures this season, yada, yada, yada. Most regular season overtime goals. The question of where Ovechkin stands on all-time goal scorer lists, it really depends who you ask. And it doesn't necessarily fall just down team lines either. It's not like just Capitals fans think Ovechkin's one of the greatest. For me, the Capitals aren't one of my favorite teams, but I do think Ovechkin's the best goal scorer I've ever seen. His 10 goals this year, his start, basically ensures that, barring like a 10-game goalless drought, he should score at least 40 this year. I can't see him scoring less than 40. He will be in the hunt for or win a Maurice Richard trophy. And it's strange because, again, you're comparing across different generations. So you can compare and you can say, well, Mike Bossy was the greatest, and you could be right. You could say Brett Hull. You could be right. You could say Gretzky. Gretzky for me, and yes, Gretzky has the most career goals of anybody, and he put up a ton of goals. There was the 92 goal season. There was the 87 goal season. Gretzky, one of the best goal scorers, but Gretzky just created sheer offense everywhere he went. And it wasn't just goals, it was assists, it was everything. It was his complete game. And his goal scoring was key and was fantastic for a few seasons. Okay, so loaded up Gretzky's stats here. So Gretzky's first year had 43 goals, then 51, 55, 92, 71, 87, 73, 52, 62. So from 79-80 until 86-87, he had at least 50 goals. He had 40 in 64 games in 87-88. He had 54 in 88-89, and then he never scored 50 again. So from 79-80 until 88-89, 50 goals was the minimum. That's about a 10-year. That is a 10-year period. 1, 2, 3, 4. People out there are like, yeah, it's 10. It's 10. Just shut up. Just 10. It's 10. It's 10. Okay, now that I've loaded up Ovechkin's stats. Ovechkin right now is 12 years away from his rookie year where he had 52 goals. So Ovechkin's been that 50-goal scorer, that huge scoring threat for longer than Gretzky was. And Gretzky was a fantastic goal scorer. But at the point that he was as old as Ovi here, he was into the basically purely a setup man stage. Ovechkin has 1 assist this year. He has no intention of being a setup man for anybody. And to me, it's not selfishness, it's determination. And it's easy to look at a guy with 10 goals and an assist and say, well, he's selfish. You kind of have to be when you're a sniper, but at the same time, there's more to it than that. It feels like he's on a mission. He's personally on a mission. And yet, when you point out that seven of his goals were scored in the first 2 games of the year, that means he scored 3 in the last 6. So it's a glass half full, glass half empty situation there, or glass completely full and completely empty with Ovechkin fans, because you can't seem to find people who don't have really, really strong opinions when it comes to Alex Ovechkin. I think the other thing with Ovechkin is he and Backstrom have had great chemistry, but Ovechkin's seasons haven't just been with Backstrom. And again, comparing with Gretzky and other players, Bossy was fantastic. But by this stage of the game, Bossy's back was done and he was out of the game. And it's too bad because if Mike Bossy hadn't had back problems and if he'd played a full career, I have very little doubt that Bossy would probably be the greatest goal scorer of all time. Because all he did was score goals. And then, people ask me the question, well, is Ovi a franchise player? I think it's important to win something as a franchise player, and yet it's such an elusive term because, yeah, he's a franchise player goal-wise, But if you say that, you're going to have people come in and say, well, he's never won anything in the postseason. Now, I can turn around and say, well, he's got 568 goals in 929 games, and he's got 20 overtime goals in the regular season, which is the most of anybody ever. And the answer is always, yeah, but he's never done it in the postseason. Which isn't exactly true. You look at his postseason stats, he has 46 goals in 97 games and 90 points. So Ovechkin hasn't been a slouch in the playoffs. This past playoffs, he had 13 games, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points. Not tremendous totals, but anytime I tried to say anything bad about Ovechkin, yeah, that doesn't go over well with the fans of the Washington Capitals. And the weird thing, too, is that with his 10 goals in 8 games, he's still a -1. So Ovechkin, in my eyes, while Crosby may be the guy who people have divided opinions on, I don't think the divided opinions are quite as much a chasm as they are with Ovechkin. Because Ovechkin may be the greatest goal scorer I've ever seen, and yet people can argue why he's not top 5. And they have perfectly valid arguments. And you can go by situational stats, you can go by... Don't go by adjusted stats, because if you adjust his goals with goals scored by guys in the 80s, he's got about 800 goals right now. I say that not having done the math and not having looked it up, and that way people are going to tell me I'm wrong. But he'd have scored a lot more goals in the 80s. You kidding me? The guy's 6'3", 235 pounds, and he scored 568 goals in what's basically been the dead puck era. He would be scoring 80 goals, 70 goals, 60, 70, 80. Like, that's what his totals would have looked like in the 80s. So, comparing across eras is almost impossible, but when you look at his totals, it is hard to deny he is one of the greatest of all time. Let me know why I'm wrong in the comment section below. And remember, this is coming from a guy who hated Ovechkin. Couldn't stand him. And he was selfish, he was egotistical, he celebrated too much after goals. It was frustrating to watch because he'd be good but not great. I don't have any of those complaints anymore. And, when you look at the state of the Capitals and whether they're winners or whatever they are, that's not on Ovechkin. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, though. As I said, let me know when I'm wrong and when I'm not. Whatever you think, that's fine. Opinions are opinions. And hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And I will talk to you guys again later. It's the last video I'll be doing from the room here. I will be discussing and reviewing tonight's games when I get home from work. I will be doing that downstairs on the set. So fret not for anybody who's worried you will not see the set. You will definitely see the set. But that's why there's still hockey stuff upstairs, because there are going to be times where I need to record upstairs. It's one of those things about doing this out of the home. Are there plans to eventually have a studio? Yeah, I have plans. I have a lot of plans. But those are for another time. And for now, that's it for this, and I'll talk to you again soon.